HTS colleagues from our participating morning institutions, so Arthur Lewis, CAFA, and most importantly of our students and the media. I had a prepared speech by my colleagues, but I think I want to speak more directly to the students because it makes no sense preaching to the converted. I think most of the adults here understand what biodiversity is. So I want to interact with you all a bit. How many of you here know the meaning of biodiversity? A quick show of hands. Any of you? You know the meaning of biodiversity? Tell us, what's it? Okay. So bio is biological. Diversity is the mixture of everything, right? Diversity means a lot of things that are all different in their own way. So biodiversity is the wide variety of things that we live in things, whether they be in the sea or in the earth or wherever, and that includes us as human beings. But what we have to understand about this biodiversity thing is that everything in life is connected. Life is biodiversity. Even beneath your feet here in the ground, you see the grass growing. The grass is part of our biodiversity. The soil is part of our biodiversity. In the soil there are worms. I don't know for you, but when I was growing up as a kid, we used to hate worms. Every time we saw a worm, we would kill it. Now, because of the destruction of our worms, we spend a lot of money buying fertilizer to make our soils richer in order to produce better food. And guess what? Some of these fertilizers now are actually poisoning the food that we eat. Although it makes them grow faster, but it induces chemicals in the food that do not fit with healthy lifestyles. So now there's a big movement now to introduce, it's called vermiculture, get worms into the soil so that the worms can recycle the soil. They eat the soil, their feces helps to enrich the soil. So everything is connected to everything. The water, the earth, the air, and the amazing resources that we have that we take for granted. If anything, from the exhibits that we have out here today, I would like you students to really look carefully at the exhibits. Ask a lot of questions. Try to understand what this biodiversity thing is all about so that you can begin to look around you with fresh eyes. You all know who Derek Walcott is? Yes. Right, that's good. Derek Walcott, as one of our Nobel laureate in poetry, spoke about his work as a poet as Adam's task of giving things their name. Because when Derek was a little boy, he was brought around the island together with Dunstan Santoma and a couple other friends by a gentleman called Harry Simmons. And Harry Simmons was somebody who studied everything that was indigenous to St. Lucia. He looked at the language, he studied the culture, the folklore, the traditional medicines, traditional foods, the archaeology. He was one of the most brilliant St. Lucians who ever lived. But his job was to introduce Walcott and them to that reality. So for them, it was like seeing St. Lucia and understanding what St. Lucia meant for the first time. And I hope that as you go through this exhibition and you see the different things, you see there's an exhibition, I think it's in 1017, that looks at medicinal herbs. And another tent looks at the value of things like different fruits, like what is pineapple best for, what is pawpaw good for, what is apricot good for. That will open your eyes to healthier lifestyles, the value of the things that we have. Just recently I was in Barbados with an elderly friend of mine who suffers from arthritis. You all know what arthritis is? It's a very painful sickness, especially when you get older. In the morning your limbs, your joints get very stiff and it's hard to move and get out of bed, and it really cramps your style, as we say. And this friend of mine, he has a very difficult time waking up on mornings. Guess what he did? The morning we had a workshop, he went to a friend who was a beekeeper, and he had bees sting both hands. And the bee sting is what enabled him to move around freely for the rest of the day. Now, I'm sure most of us have been stung by bees, and it's not a nice thing. It's not something we would like to have. Neither are injections from the nurses. But the reality is, better than any injection for arthritis is the bee sting. And what is happening now? Our bees are dying. They are dying because of all the aerial spraying that we did in the time of bananas and the cutting of some of the trees and the flowers that they used to flourish. So we have to reassess where we're going and understand the value of the things that God has given us in these countries and how we use them for our benefit. These are resources that we have taken for granted, but which more and more become increasingly valuable in a world of so much artificiality. Everything on the supermarket shelves are artificial. Everything. We need to go back. We need to go back to basics, go back to nature, go back to biodiversity. And in some of the countries that are most developed, in Japan, the biggest craze in tourism now, internally, is something called forest bathing. Forest bathing. People go out into the forest, sometimes half naked, barefoot, and they just take in the atmosphere of the forest. They breathe in the fresh air, they hug the trees. It may sound foolish for us, but trust me, there's a lot of logic in it, because if you live in a concrete jungle, then you get to appreciate the feel of the soil between your toes and the fresh air in your lungs from the pollution of the cities, and eating the natural fruit and just listening to the sound. If you go on YouTube now, you'll see there's a YouTube video I use sometimes when I find it difficult to sleep. It has 142 million hits. And what is that video? It's just forest sounds, night sounds of the forest. Very soothing. But look at how people are using it. So let's wake up to what we have, and we hope that this exhibition will be the first step for you students to look at opportunities, careers. I'm sure today should be probably worth more than 6 days in a classroom, because you have an opportunity to see and understand so much. And don't hesitate to ask questions of the experts from the OECS, from the ministries that are present. They are here to help you to understand. Thank you for coming, and enjoy the day.